are calling on effective ceasefire and respect and implementation of the UN Security Council Resolution 2773.
Parce qu'on a vu des sangs couler, les gens mourir chaque jour. Les autres, c'est à cause de la guerre, les autres à cause de la famine, et les autres, c'est surtout les maladies cardiaques. Ils n'arrivent pas à supporter la situation, ils tombent malades et d'un coup, ils perdent la vie comme ça.
People are dying on a daily basis, and some are dying of heart attack, some are dying of malnutrition, but people keep on dying every day.
C'est pour cela que nous disons tout ça, ça englobe tout ce qui est, ça englobe tout ce qui est vraiment des situations tellement compliquées au niveau de la RDC et les droits humains n'est pas du tout respecté. C'est pourquoi nous appelons vraiment au cessez-le-feu effectif pour que la paix puisse revenir au niveau de la RDC. Merci.
There is various human rights violations in the context of conflict. This is why we are calling on effective ceasefire so that the DRC can regain peace. Madame Giselle will be leaving us because she has to go board her flights. She's flying out at 5 p.m. Thank you. Can we take some questions if you have? Maybe you'll have one question. Madame Giselle is the only person who comes from Goma. We are praying and we will ask for your prayers as well because she still has to find her way to go back to Goma. We need people like her down there. So if you have questions for her or for us, this will be the time.
So the question I have is, you said that you visited the Congress, policymakers?
Yeah.
And what kind of responses were they promising, or what do you think, what do you make of the effectiveness of that?
Quelles sont les réactions, les réponses que nous avons reçues du Congrès ou des sénateurs et comment est-ce que nous pensons qu'ils vont nous soutenir? Quelqu'un veut répondre? Vous voulez
Nous avons eu le temps de rencontrer les parlementaires au niveau du Congrès. C'était vraiment pour nous l'occasion de leur demander d'amplifier notre voix. Parce que tel que nous venons de le dire dans notre présentation, nous sommes la voix de sa voix. Mais nous avons confiance que les personnes que nous avons rencontrées, ils vont nous aider à amplifier notre voix, mais aussi à nous aider à ce que tout ce que nous avons écrit dans notre note de plaidoyer puisse être pris en considération.
We met the congressmen and our request was for them to amplify our voice and to ensure the stakeholders and the process listen to our advocacy, and we trust that they will do just that. Just to add, the Congressman Jonathan Jackson gave us a full hour, listened to us, asked a lot of questions, and as a result of his support, we recorded a conversation with him directly, and that will be broadcasted. This is a way of amplifying our voices because we were able to present our advocacy and to talk to American people through that conversation with a congressman. Any other question for us?
Would you just spell her name for me, the lady from Goma? Would you spell her?
She said that J.
It's in the packet.
It's on the package.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All our names are there. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Andre J. We're Congolese, obviously. I guess we've been on this file for a long time. I've been knowing the friend of Congo for quite some time now. I guess we go back to 2010, I believe, where we started this movement of the combattants, with some of them here in the DC fighting hard. So I've been pretty much hearing a lot of the advocacy that you guys have been doing. That's great, but there was also a missing part that some of us pretty much noticed from way back in the days. We started one program that was called Congolese Women Network with, she's here, I see that was her father, Mr. Gilbert Mundela, that passed away. So we realized that we pretty much always go to push about what has to be done with the people. Like I heard pretty much, everything that you listed there as far as advocacy. What about some of the plan that we bring ourselves when it comes to security? All right, because we have 9 bordering countries, and right now when you look at the borders around those borders, when it comes to security, it's a disaster. It's a huge disaster. How about we start putting some other plans through those advocacy? That's good is about for the people, building school for our kids and all this stuff. That's great. But what about the security of the kids, the security of the whole borders and stuff? I think we need to start thinking about some other plans when it comes to that. Okay? Come together, come with some security plans, social security with people that, myself for instance, involved into, high technology and things like that, and start putting some plan that we're also gonna push because we responsible as Congolese for that, for the security of the country. Nobody else will do it unless we push ourselves. So all that we do is great. We talk about school, hospital, all of the stuff. We forget security of our borders. Okay, that's one point that I want you guys to start thinking of. And if any help, we open to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Dans nos plaidoyers, nous faisons un bon travail, mais il y a une dimension que nous semblons ne pas toucher, c'est la question en lien avec la sécurité de notre pays. Nous avons 9 pays limitrophes et la sécurité est notre responsabilité à nous en tant que Congolais. So maybe just to give you an element of the response, it's not that we're leaving out the security aspect, but we have to set out priorities as it is. She lives in Goma. She left her house for a conference. She is not yet able to go back to Goma. We only got her a visa yesterday. We still didn't know where she will be going from Washington, D.C. We got her visa yesterday morning for 90 days in Schengen space. So we still have to think of her security as a human being, as somebody who's amplifying voices. Also, we are prioritizing the needs and targeting specific groups with specific advocacy message. You said it, our security is first our responsibility. So we also have internal requests that we addressing it to the people who are duty barriers, who are supposed to do their work. We have to hold them accountable somehow. So just to let you know that we are pretty much aware of that our priority now is for the blood to stop shedding, because people are not dying in Zongo the same way they're dying in Goma. Zongo is the border with CAR, Central African Republic.
Exactly.
People are not dying the same way in Kabinda or Ruchuru. So we have to think of priority before we can then get back to other issues, but it's not that we leave it out. Also, secondly, we are many groups. As you can see, we are pointing one thing out. We have social pact that the religious people are heading. It's all male dominated, and it's all male driven. We are bringing the dimension of human-centered approach that other stakeholders are not taking into consideration. When they talk hard security, for instance, we talk about women's health, reproductive health, women in uniform. We care about them because they can all go to war, but men do not have menstruation. So it's just the matter of prioritizing. And for this specific advocacy mission, the deal that is being negotiated here is focusing on a specific subject, which is mineral. So we did not think this was the time to get many advocacy topics, because we might shift attention away from what we want. We want the benefit of the minerals to also benefit for the population that we are. But thank you for bringing our attention to the main issue of security, because we want peace. There is no peace without organizing our security system and forces.
Yeah, because the reasons also mentioned, because as you can see as they're coming with the deal, the one main thing that they keep mentioning when it comes to our country is security. Okay? So, right? So if we can start doing some advocacy as far as bringing better plans to that, it's gonna help a lot, you know, when it comes to that. Okay.
Il fallait que je... Oui, c'est ça l'initiative, c'est le gouvernement, parce que lui est en train de... Vous n'avez pas le pouvoir de changer. Nous vous remercions infiniment pour l'intérêt que vous attachez à cette séance d'échange. Et nous croyons que c'est à travers vous que nous aurons ces solutions. Pour arriver ici, vous avez compris qu'il y a nos collègues qui devraient traverser beaucoup d'obstacles. Et sans oublier qu'il y a celles qui sont en plein refuge. Et pour se réfugier avec les enfants, vous savez comment nous les mamans, nous y allons. Nous y allons attachés avec nos enfants, avec des cordes, comme si nous tirions des chèvres. Donc, ce n'est pas la joie. Et si nous disons, malgré ces obstacles, malgré ces conditions, nous devons venir vous tendre la main, c'est puisque nous espérons, non, nous croyons que nos voix ici, qui étaient en sourdine dans nos communautés, qui ne se faisaient pas entendre, ici, c'est maintenant l'espace qu'il faut pour que ces plaidoyers trouvent des bonnes couloirs de transmission. Alors, pour parler d'idées, nous les femmes, nous avons mené beaucoup de plaidoyers ici pour que notre pays réintègre à bord. C'est puisque nous croyons aux îles, nous croyons aux opportunités, nous croyons aux investissements. Mais nous ne savions pas que nous pouvions être dans ces conditions dont nous venions de vous décrire avec les collègues et par l'investissement dans cet environnement. Vous pouvez?
Do you understand French?
Bien sûr, bien sûr, bien sûr, bien sûr.
On parle
Bien
pour
sûr.
tout le monde, si vous pouvez interpréter.
Pardon, parce que I was distracted.
Donc, les conditions que nous venions de décrire, ce sont des conditions d'insécurité totale où nous ne pouvons pas, nous les femmes et les jeunes et toute la population en général, parler d'investissement sans cet environnement sécurisé.
Tout à fait.
Et c'est ce que vous venez de dire.
So what we're talking about is the total security, the human security. So when we're discussing investments and things of that nature, you know, that's what we're referring to. And also, I mean, this is a governmental, I mean, this is not what she said, but I think what she's trying to allude is saying that this is a government power, right, that we don't have at the, especially as women, we don't have at the local level. So,
Maintenant, nous voulons le faire en étroite collaboration, nous comme population, toutes les parties prenantes, et ce n'est pas mâcher les mots. Nous voulons que toute la population soit sache d'abord, les deals comportent quoi? Quel est cet accord? L'accord dit quoi? Est-ce que nous disons que ça sera aussi comme le caoutchouc, puisqu'il y avait une imposition, mais on coupait les mains, mais on impose? Est-ce que nous voulons encore une sécurité qui va faire comme si nous sommes là juste pour subir, mais pas pour être impliqués ou participer? Nous disons oui aux opportunités, mais non à l'exclusion de toutes les parties prenantes. Toutes les parties prenantes doivent être impliquées et savoir de quoi il s'agit et discuter ensemble. Les histoires ne doivent pas se discuter en vase clos et dire que c'est pour la population. La population, toutes les parties prenantes veulent participer et si nous le disons comme ça, c'est pour que ça soit durable et non pas quelque chose d'éphémère. Si ce sont des mercenaires qui peuvent venir, c'est pour aider pour un temps. Maintenant, quel est le système que nous construisons? Nous voulons le construire ensemble et c'est une appropriation que nous voulons.
Yeah, we as women we say we are open and we say yes to opportunities, but we need opportunities to be inclusive of all the communities' voices and concern. We need security for our country. Oh, yes.
Donnez alors les questions à l'auditoire.
Well, yeah, I think we can take some other questions.
Okay.
Moi aussi j'avais une question, je vais peut-être la poser en français. Quelle est la responsabilité de notre gouvernement congolais pour assurer que ces deals puissent être équitables et favorables à la RDC? And I'll say that in English. My question is about the responsibility of the Congolese government to make sure that the minerals deal is fair and beneficial, favorable to the DRC.
Thank you for your question, but as we said, we are not representatives of the government. We are civil society organizations. We are here to represent the women and the civil society organizations and to with a message of advocacy toward other stakeholders into the process. But the messages that we have for our government, we started back home and we realized that other stakeholders needed to hear our advocacy from ourselves. So we hear that they will be here next week. So maybe, just maybe, you might find a way to ask them the questions directly so they can, as a government, respond to their part in responsibility in the deal.
But are you guys doing any advocacy?
Yeah, we are. We are doing a lot toward them. She's working with our minister in charge of human rights. She was in Uvira just before our trip here. So just to say that we are holding them also accountable and we are following and monitoring closely. But for this mission, we do not have their message. We have women's message toward American institutions, policymakers, and the diaspora organizations that can amplify our voices.
Thank you.
Yes, I just want to mention that whenever we hear of the war in Congo, in the government, I will repeat in French, in the government, we have this association with groups like Blackwater, for example. These are groups of mercenaries, and they have killed thousands of people in Iraq. They have been pardoned by the current president of the United States. So what are some of the, do you think that the government is aware of that and also aware of some of the statements that the head of Blackwater, Mark or Eric, I forgot what his first name is, Prince, have made with regards to recolonizing Africa, for example. So these are really some deep questions that I wonder whether the government even knows about their way of thinking and their exactions.
You said you're repeating in
French.
French.
Ah oui, pardon. Alors je disais que le gouvernement parfois a des liens étroits avec des groupes comme les mercenaires de Blackwater. Blackwater, c'est un groupe qui a fait beaucoup de dégâts en Irak, qui a tué énormément de personnes. Vous avez le directeur, le président de Blackwater, qui s'appelle Prince, son nom de famille, j'oublie son prénom. Et il a, Eric Prince, je crois. Et il a fait des déclarations qui sont vraiment des déclarations, mais affolantes, dans lesquelles il parle, par exemple, de recoloniser l'Afrique. Alors, est-ce que le gouvernement congolais est au courant de cela, de leur pensée, de leur manière de penser, et qui peut être même dangereuse pour la RDC? Merci.
Prendre la réponse et puis Jay.
Voilà. En fait, parce que moi je voudrais renforcer ça, parce que ça c'est la raison pour laquelle nous autres ici, nous sommes en train de voir de loin par rapport à ça, parce que je crois que les mamans, je crois que vous êtes bien placés pour pouvoir pousser ça aussi. Parce que on voit l'advocacy des mamans, tu vois, on connaît les cœurs de mamans, les actions de mamans, mais il y a une partie qui est très importante en fait dans tout ça. Vous avez entendu ce que la maman ici a dit en fait par rapport à... Ouais. Et il utilise ces termes-là, et ça c'est bien vrai, c'est ce qu'il a dit. Eric, il a dit c'est pour recoloniser l'Afrique. Il a dit si les Africains ne savent pas le faire tout seuls, on va les aider, on va le faire pour eux. Vous entendez ce langage-là?
So to translate it in English, I think Joe was just emphasizing on the point that was made about the use of private security companies and providing security safety on the continent in Africa, and in this case in Congo.
Les gouvernants ont aussi des soucis, puisque nous parlons à un certain moment de la diplomatie. Et nous ne connaissons pas ce qu'ils endurent réellement comme difficulté. Mais nous pouvons savoir ce que nous endurons comme population. Et c'est à nous de montrer aux gouvernants ce que nous endurons. Nous ne pouvons pas nous mettre à la place des gouvernants pour dire ils endurent tel ou tel autre blocage, nous pouvons tolérer. Non, nous pouvons crier au secours et dire à nos gouvernants, là, il y a un problème, et c'est ça, nous parlons de l'alerte. Nous sommes des lanceurs d'alerte. Et lorsque nous lançons cette alerte, nous les lançons au nom de toute la population, nous les lançons pour nous-mêmes et pour nos enfants, nous les lançons pour les générations futures. Okay. C'est pour cela que nous disons, nous ne voulons pas de ce qui peut être éphémère, mais nous voulons du durable. Et pour avoir du durable, nous disons que nous devons le construire ensemble. Ce que les gouvernants peuvent faire dans la diplomatie n'est pas nécessairement durable. Les gouvernants doivent nous écouter et savoir ce que nous pouvons faire ensemble, pas en ennemi. Les gouvernants ne sont pas nos ennemis. Ce sont nos gouvernants, ce sont nos autorités et nous devons travailler ensemble pour arriver à trouver des solutions. Nos solutions ne sont pas des mercenaires. Nous disons non. Nous ne disons pas que c'est ça notre souhait. Nous disons que nous devons étudier ensemble les problèmes qui nous gangrènent et trouver les pistes de sortie. Nous avons eu des propositions, nous avons eu des résolutions, nos mamans venaient d'y revenir. Nous ne parlons pas seulement de la résolution 1325, de la résolution 2250, de la résolution 2773 et d'autres résolutions y afférentes. Nous ne parlons pas seulement des sommets. Il y a eu des sommets de la SADC, EAC, de IAI Angola. Aujourd'hui, c'est Doha. Mais dans tout ça, il y a un aspect qui manque. Et c'est ce que nous sommes en train de relever. L'aspect qui manque, c'est ce cadre qui n'est pas inclusif et qui laisse à ce que nous continuons à naviguer comme s'il y avait des cercles vicieux. Je ne sais pas si je peux d'abord être interprétée, puis je continue.
So, and I'll summarize. So, what Mama is saying is that, of course, they do recognize that security is the responsibility of the Congolese government. The Congolese government is ultimately responsible for providing security, safety for its people. And then they're not encouraging the use of mercenaries for security services in Congo. However, and then they are willing to work together. They're not opposing essentially the government, but they're willing, the Congolese government in this case, but they're willing to work together with the Congolese government to find solutions to these critical issues. And I think the point she was about to make was how the peace processes that are taking place now can be more inclusive, so to include civil society groups, lacto groups, and then other groups that also are voicing concerns.
Donc, vous avez écouté les intimidations d'Eric Prince. Écoutez maintenant notre message. Relayez aussi notre message. Oubliez si vous avez relayé pour Eric Prince. Ça, ce sont des intimidations aux Africains. Maintenant, les mamans viennent avec leur message qu'elles vous demandent de relayer et surtout de plaider à qui des droits. Nous savons qu'aujourd'hui, si vous le voulez bien, notre voix aujourd'hui peut arriver aux oreilles des autorités du monde entier. Si vous voulez nous aider. Et nous sommes sûrs et certaines que cela est possible, mais ensemble. Nous devons y arriver ensemble et non pas en excluant certains groupes sociaux, certains groupes communautaires, les opposants, les majoritaires, puisque nous ne parlons pas seulement de la société civile, nous parlons de toutes les parties prenantes, les églises et bref, les jeunes également, vous et nous qui êtes ici et surtout les partenaires à tous les niveaux.
Yeah, so Mama was saying that so we should also not only amplify the concerns or what Eric Prince, who's the founder of the Blackwater private military company, but we should support, amplify their efforts, their voices, but also there are a wide range of stakeholders in this process, and then we have to ensure that all stakeholders are being included. We know that this process, the peace process, should not exclude any group, any social group or community group, and we should provide and foster that inclusive space. Yeah, any other questions? Yes,
I just had a question. How can we help on this side to help elevate their messages? How can we assist as Americans and even as folks who really are trying to be on the right side of history? How can we help them, or in any tangible ways, small ways, even if it's through social media or whatever? What are some ways that we can help elevate that message and be a resource in any kind of way? Just wondering.
En français, il demande comment les Américains, les gens qui sont ici, peuvent vous aider, peuvent vous accompagner dans vos efforts, en tout cas de façon tangible, de façon concrète, pour résumer.
First thing, thank you, because just being here, you're already supporting us. And secondly, we count on all of you to share our message, amplify our voices, because why did we come? We just said it before. When we watch on the news, there was a deal that was going to be signed in America. Whatever was being said there was not really transmitting our priority, our aspiration as the people. That's why we decided to also come to Washington, D.C. In fact, today is a very critical moment, because as we speak here, we know that delegations are landing in D.C. and they are supposed to be finalizing their negotiation and to sign next week. So now you know that the deal, that whatever they will be signing upon, does not really take into account the people's aspiration. That's the first thing. The secondly is just also sharing information. You just did. I didn't know about the prince. I didn't know, because we are so overwhelmed in humanitarian response. Because one thing that we did not mention maybe is when Goma and Bukavu went under control of the armed groups, all international organizations left. All humanitarian international organizations that had resources left. The UN agencies, they all left, leaving the people in a terrible situation without any resource. So all of us here used our own personal resources to respond to humanitarian needs. So just to let you know, some of informations we might not really, not because we don't have the will to know, but just because we are too busy responding to humanitarian. So sharing information is important. Also asking our information from us. We are open to share information. And thirdly, when you can and if you can, there is organizations that are on the ground doing first humanitarian response. You can also fundraise and support our work on the ground. This is the tangible way. Mama Justine wrote a book. She has it here. She's also just a way of fundraising. Whatever that book is bringing, she's not using it for anything. I bought 2 books. My team had to send money directly in Goma because they had to pay for some water bill for the women the survivor of sexual violence. So those are just some diverse way that you can support us. But yeah, we really need our voices to be heard because most of the time, the politician voices are more louder than the people voices. But it's not that whatever they say reflect reality or priority for the population. So yeah, thank you again for supporting, and we trust that this solidarity will continue.
All right. But
Thank you so much for being here once again. I would like to ask Mama Justine, just reading a little bit from the book. So much is said about the war, but less is said about what we lost. For you write on chapter 4, our region is not a small paradise. Our region is not a small paradise. It's a small paradise that suddenly became hell in 1994. So, can you tell us what have we lost for the last 30 years?
Vous pouvez nous dire ce que nous avons perdu dans les 30 années passées, parce que les livres nous parlent plus de la guerre et ça ne met pas en évidence ce que nous avons perdu. Et il a cité une phrase dans votre livre qui dit que notre pays qui était comme un paradis
sur terre. C'est comme ça que je l'ai dit en français.
Soudainement, voilà, un enfer. Vous-même, vous savez comment vous allez dire. Voilà.
Oui. Quand moi je grandissais, notre pays était le paradis sur terre. Puisque là, quand nous allions en vacances, on traversait le parc national de Virunga. Donc on voyait tous les animaux, mais pas dans un zoo, mais on les voyait vraiment en présentiel. Et nous, on a une saison où il pleut toute l'année, donc on sème, on récolte, on a la nourriture toute l'année. Là, on s'est déplacé, comme je dis, on allait en vacances chez nos grands-parents, on traversait le parc national de Virunga aujourd'hui. Et
when I was growing up, we used to walk through a national park, Virunga, and we saw animals, not in the zoo behind the fence, but we could see the animals. And we had a raining season in the year.
Là, je dis que donc on a la pluie toute l'année. On peut s'aimer, donc nous avons tout. C'est pour cela que je parlais de paradis sur terre.
We have everything. It rains throughout the year, and we can sow and reap and harvest anytime in the year. That's why I'm saying that we have a paradise.
Mais depuis la guerre, il n'y a plus de parcs qui existent.
Since war started,
et même les gens qui vont dans les champs, ils peuvent peut-être labourer et s'aimer, mais ils n'auront pas la chance même de récolter. Il y a des gens qui vont dans les champs, surtout les femmes, elles sont abusées sexuellement. Il y a des personnes qui sont tuées chaque jour. Donc, il n'y a plus ce paradis sur terre.
Since war started, there is no more security, there is no safety. People can start their field work, but they are not able to harvest because before the harvest time, war can start and they have to run away. The women can get raped when they go in the fields. So there is no more that paradise. We have lost that paradise.
Surtout, il y avait cette solidarité, il y avait cet amour. On vivait ensemble, on n'avait peur de personne. Nous tous, nous étions ensemble, en communauté. Donc, on pouvait se déplacer comme on pouvait. Donc, c'était vraiment le paradis. Mais aujourd'hui, on a tout perdu. Parce que ça n'existe plus.
We lived together, we had that solidarity and love as a community. The cohabitation was peaceful. But since this war, we trusted each other. But since the war started, there is that mistrust. We lost that love and solidarity. So we lost our paradise.
Thank you so much. So we'll take maybe one more question and then we can do closing remarks.
Yes.
Bonjour, my question is in regards to violence against women. From what you just described, I want to know if the issue is similar to what we see in South Africa, where there's a social issue pitting men against women and almost devaluing the women, the men in the men's minds. There's a devaluation of women, and that's what the issue is, or is the issue of sexual violence coming from the outside, meaning that we have groups of other men from other countries coming in and raping the women?
I'll just translate your question first. Sa question est à voir avec la question de violence sexuelle. Elle veut savoir si c'est comme l'exemple de l'Afrique du Sud où il y a un problème social, où les hommes de la même communauté violentent leurs propres femmes ou sœurs, ou dans leur tête, ils dévalorisent les femmes en commettant ces violences, ou alors c'est différent, c'est une question de violence sexuelle des hommes d'autres communautés ou d'autres pays qui viennent pour violer. Okay. The DRC context is different. We're talking about sexual violence or rape being used as a weapon of war. So socially or anthropologically, men are responsible for protection of the women of their community. And the women of a community they are a treasure and a reason of pride for the men of their community. So using rape of women of a community is like defeating, showing the men of that community that you have defeated them. They were unable to protect the women of the community. So it is really, that's why we say a woman's body is not a battlefield. If men want to fight, they should fight each other, not use the woman's body as a trophy to show that they have defeated the other men. So the problem is not social. Mama just said it. When I was young, I was small, we did not hear about rape. When it was raining, it rains throughout the year in our country. We used to go in the rain, naked, running around. You could see cousins. We were not afraid that we would get raped. Totally different. I speak English because I was a refugee in South Africa. That's why I speak English. Otherwise, I would need a translator too. So just to tell you, I know the context of South Africa is totally different. This rape and sexual violence is really being used in a systematic way. Certain communities, they did not stop at raping. They raped and took some les bâtons, sticks, and stick it in the woman's vagina, excuse me to be so blunt. And some, they even opened the womb of a woman, took out the womb. That's why we are also advocating on another register on acknowledgement of the Congolese genocide, because some villages were burnt down. some villages on a systematic way. In 2009, they called DRC the world capital of rape because rape was being used systematically as of to rape off existence of some tribes. So their lands can be occupied by who? So the DRC context is complex. It's extremely complex. It's not just economic dimension, social dimension. There is also a land issue that stays right there. American would understand that because we have a land issue that's also at stake. That's why Mama Elodie was insisting on the population's participation, effective participation in all process. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So we're running behind schedule. I think we'll do closing remarks and then we'll wrap. So maybe Mama Elodie, you want to start and then.
Le mot de la fin.
Mot de la fin. Voilà.